So this is all what we took out today. We've got the, oh my, I didn't even notice that. Oh my god. Well, today's the day where we rip out this actually quite decent faucet and replace it with something more decenter. Anyway, I want to prove a point. So, one of the things I've talked about in my channel, and I think anyone who's done any plumbing projects in their life will tell you, don't touch old valves. And here's why. Especially old globe valves. Ball valves aren't so bad, but globe valves, they're a special kind of sucky. So take a look at this. If you ever go in your house, in your basement or whatever, whatever your situation is, and you have plumbing in your house, or your... So what we got here are two valves. I'm going to be cutting these out today. They're going to be replaced with ball valves. These are original 1954 globe valves. And they're fine if you don't touch them. But let's say you got to replace a faucet, or you got to do some minor repair, and you're like, I'm just going to shut those off and make my repair, and then turn it back on again. You're wrong. You are so wrong. That is not how this works. These valves are guaranteed to leak. Allow me to demonstrate. So let's say I want to shut the water off to the cold tap. Watch this. Oh, it's crusty. Oh my god. Ugh. Actually, it is leaking. My hand is now wet. But I just shut that tap off, or that valve off. What's going to happen is, let's see how much it actually shut off first of all. You get out of there. Alright, cold tap. Oh, okay. It actually did shut it off. I'm impressed. I figured it'd be a gusher. Now, let's open it up. Or, yeah, let's open the valve, because we're done our repairs for this little fictitious scenario. So we're going to open that guy right up. Okay, so, alright. I made a liar out of me, but I'm going to put it in the video anyway, because sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you get lucky. Here's another one. Okay, that's the outside faucet. You know what? They didn't leak. Okay then. Sometimes you get lucky. But I had one of these valves over there. It was actually originally over here. I'll show you where it was. It was in, I talked about this in a previous video. So I had two of them. I had one here for the outside spigot, and I had one right here. This is where it was. And that valve would not stop leaking. It would never stop leaking. And hey, sometimes you get lucky. It also depends on how often that valve was manipulated. So, for example, I gotta shut the water heater off. For example, because I'm going to be draining the system down a little bit. Okay, let's shut the main off. That's this guy here. Now this one leaks. Not much I can do about that, but the system's still under pressure, so we gotta open these valves here a little bit to allow it to drain down. Oh, I need water. I need some water for the soldering. Might as well use that to. I gotta have water for my sponges and stuff. So we're gonna let the system kind of drain down before I take that cap off. All right. So the situation is, because this shut-off valve doesn't do a very good job of shutting off, I have to keep this little drain cap off so that I can, what was I saying? There's a lot of water in that system. You can hear it draining out. Look at that. Look at all that water. Made myself a little drain for it to go into the bucket because, like I said, that shutoff valve doesn't do a very good job of stopping the flow. So the next thing I need to do is remove all that insulation from where I'm going to be soldering. So we'll get that pulled down. So I think we'll start by fixing the cold water side, and we're going to cut out all this plumbing. So I'm going to basically replace. I'm going to desolder. Actually, this pipe is fine. There's no need to replace this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut the valve out, cut it here, and then we'll get a patch piece to put there with a new valve and a pipe and all that. Make sense? Okay, let's do that. And I think I'm going to have to desolder this pipe here. I don't think I have enough patch pieces. I might have to pick some more up. And we'll figure it out. I'll take the drain cap off. Ooh, I can't. It's stuck there. There we go. You hear that sucking? Because it sucks. It's creating a vacuum. Because now the water is draining out of the pipe. Now that we've opened that tap. Let's open up all the taps in the house. See, what happens is if you don't allow the system to drain down by opening up any valves, that could create a vacuum which holds the water back. What's going to happen is as you're soldering and you're manipulating the pipes, that water will start to dribble out little by little, and it's going to prevent you from ever getting a clean solder job done. So you got to make sure your system is drained as much as possible, as much as reasonably possible, right? See, we got a little more flow now that we've opened up all those valves. And I got this fan going to keep the air moving around here so the water can slowly evaporate. It's a very dry basement right now, so relative humidity is pretty low. Alright. So I've decided I'm going to save the hot water line up to a certain point. See, it's been leaking for a while. Not leaking actively, but kind of like a slow, little drip here and there. Which is why that pipe's all corroded like that. But what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to desolder this right here. And we're going to replace it from here up. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I got this low clearance pipe cutter. I love this really Mickey Mouse job they did. That's just all kinds of special. Where's the directional arrow on this thing? It has to go. I think it goes this way. Yeah, that sounds about right. So we're going to cut this polybutylene valve out. See how that pipe is, it has blue ink on it? That is L pipe. That's the thick wall stuff. That's good stuff, but not necessary. We're going to use M, which is red striped. They say that L pipe will last for 300 years, whereas M pipe will only last for 250. Really though, the difference is wall thickness. Your L pipe is your thick, that's the thickest you're usually going to find in a residential home. I think underground they use a thicker pipe. I forget what the denomination is, or I forget what that one's called, but alright. So there's our dishwasher line. We're gonna just replace. So we're gonna desolder from here. I'm gonna have to cut. Look at all that nastiness in there. I'm gonna have to cut the pipe there to make it easier. I'm not gonna try to unscrew this. is pretty much done for. What the hell? Oh, there must be nothing supporting it up top. So we're going to cut this off. I'm going to turn the radio down every time I film so I don't get strikes on my YouTube. So let's take a look. I got the faucet out. I removed the cold plumbing all the way back to the valve. And so we're going to just rebuild all that. This is what the sink looks like with the faucet removed. And it should be in pretty good shape. I mean, this is old. But you can see this is nasty. I've never had this faucet out. This was installed probably a couple years before I bought the place, so I've never had a reason to remove it. But that's why I should have prepared an extra bucket of schmoo so I could clean. Looks like there's paint chips under there. Oh my god. The bathroom sink was far worse. Although that sink was installed in 2003 or so. But it's a bathroom sink, so it... Actually, I think the kitchen sink, this is probably worse than that was. Yeah, probably a lot worse. It's all exposed. So if the sink looks like crap underneath, then it's the wrong faucet for the job. But I think I'm okay. So, I mean, look at the condition these hoses are in. Now, these are not real stainless steel braided. These are nylon, and they all come like that. You can get stainless steel, but a lot of the ones I'm seeing are nylon coated. But you can see it's been wicking that rust up for however long. And is there a copyright date on this? 2007. So if this is a copyright date of 2007, it's not that old. But one of the things that alarmed me immensely was when I took the hot side off. I'll show you what I mean. Here we go. So it was only threaded halfway down, and it took like maybe 3 turns of the nut and it just fell right off. So I averted disaster by doing this. If I hadn't done this now, there's a good chance I would have had a major problem. And it's not the faucet's issue, it's the plumbing itself. They plumbed it with crap. They just kept all the garbage and just... It's sad. Anyway. Little pro tip, iron out. If you've got iron stains on your sink or porcelain, anything, this stuff works the best. Slightly acidic though, so be careful. But that will dissolve any, if that is an iron stain, it will remove it. And it seems to be lightening it up a little bit. That looks pretty good. Shines up too. That's the only part of the sink that's never had any abrasion or anything. Sneak preview of what it's going to look like. That looks ballser. What I want to do is see how far these hoses drape down. So what I'm going to do is, rather than run the plumbing through the shelf, I'm going to run the hoses. I'm going to drill a new, I'm going to get my hole saw, and I'm going to put a hole right there. I need to get this air line out of the way. But I'm going to put a hole, like right in the middle. And that's where the terminations are going to end up. So why don't I do that? I'm going to just get my hole saw and we'll cut a hole right as close to, and then we'll branch these off, and then they'll thread right in. I think that makes the most sense. What do you think? Either way. Okay. Now I want to emphasize why I'm not filming all of this, because I'm not a how-to channel, and I don't want to give somebody the wrong information or wrong ideas. I do things the way I do them, because that's the way I was taught. And by other homeowners, like my dad, you know. But look at this freaking faucet. This is a quality. Oh my God. Oh my God. This thing is quality. But I got a problem. I have to remove this shelf under the sink. I'm going to cut it. I should just take the whole thing out. But I'm going to cut it down where I can get it. So I can't hook the faucet up yet. But I can turn the water back on, hopefully. So I've got my 3 shutoffs. Oh, this one must have shifted. I had to strap the plumbing up a little bit underneath. There was nothing supporting it. No, really. There was nothing underneath supporting these pipes. So I had to do something about that. And that I did. But I got the dishwasher out inlet there. I got the, yeah, so we're going to start hooking some stuff up. And yeah, so that'll be fun. But yeah, before I do that, because the way this faucet works is it requires some clearance underneath for that hose to drape and to be pulled in and out. So we've got to, again, we've got to remove the shelf from here to about there. So I'm going to try to get my Sawzall in there or something. Hopefully I can. And we're going to cut it back. So I'm going to have to get a piece of wood and re-support it over here somewhere. And this is what they put in there. This is original. Look at that, original paint. And they just broke the end. Like, okay. If you've ever watched Green Acres, you might know who the Monroe brothers are. There's a whole big joke around the whole thing. But if you haven't watched Green Acres, you really should, because I'm pretty sure the Monroe brothers built this house. There are just some things that, as you peel back the layers, you find things that just make you cringe. But to their credit, this house was built in 1954, and it's still standing, so it's actually in pretty good shape overall when you think about it. It's just an old house at this point. But underneath, so we rerouted our ice maker line to there. I used copper rather than PEX. Why did I use copper? Because you can't solder PEX. Why else? I've got a new water heater supply valve. Now, on a water heater, you don't put a valve on the output, you put it on the input. That's just how it's usually done. So you cut off the supply, not the outlet. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna push this up a wee bit so that it's level with the pipe above it, or the other one. So I put some straps in to secure these lines in place. Make sure I didn't miss a solder joint. Make sure you got these these drains. Make sure they're tight before you turn the water on, because you don't want a gusher. Okay. Just like last time, cross our fingers and hope I did my job right. There is one solder joint that I suspect I might have to redo it, and I think there was water in the line. So let's get this out of the way. Put our cap. I have an extra. I'm going to put a new cap on that. Just going to take one out of another valve here. I got an extra valve. I just, something about, 60-year-old rubber washers. I just, you know what I mean? Let's see if it fits. No, it doesn't fit. It's threaded differently. But you just got a good look at how much that thing leaks. That valve leaks really badly internally. So just get it good and tight. I'm going to shut this fan off so I don't, if something lets go, I'll hear it. Alright. Get all the air out of the lines. So having all the faucets on, I'm able to flush all the flux out of the copper. Water heater's filling up. So right now the system's not really under any pressure because everything's on. Okay. I don't see any major problems down here. I'm going to let that go so it flushes out the hot water system. Because again, we got a lot of flux in there. Make sure there's no leaks under here. Let's shut the... a lot of air in there in the system. But by God, we don't have any gushers. Alright, we're going to shut these valves off one by one. Okay, so now we've got only the basement sink on. Now that basement sink can drain that water heater in minutes. Because it is such a large, it's an unrestricted flow. So you'll notice that upstairs we had no pressure. That's because the sink takes it all away. See, there's no restrictor on this faucet here. So that's what happens. So now we got to just check. Now the system's holding pressure. We've got to check for any drips. And that is the nerve-wracking part. Because if we have a drip somewhere, that will be a problem. Now the one that I was suspectful of is right here. This is the one I was more concerned about because as I was soldering, I noticed steam coming out of the fitting. But I think I got it. I tried a couple of different times. I think I finally nailed it. But it's holding pressure. And that's all we can ask for. How about over here? Now the only shark bite fitting I used is this guy here. Why did I use a shark bite? Well, truthfully, and I'll be honest, Lowe's didn't have a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch sweat fit valve. He did not have one in stock. So that's why I chose that. Now what we got to do is we got to flush out the refrigerator line. So I'm going to use this pitcher. Everybody's old grandmother or aunt had one of these growing up. If you're my age, you know what I'm talking about, or older. This pitcher is probably 50 years old. Alright, we still don't seem to have any leaks anywhere. So we got to flush this guy out. Hear the air? Yeah, you don't want that in your ice maker. Fortunately, the fridge has a nice activated charcoal filter, which should take the taste of molten flux out of the equation. So to take that shelf out, I took the whole thing out. Well, first I took it out a little bit so I could get my Sawzall in there, and I cut what I had to. And then I took it out, the rest of it, brought it downstairs on the table saw and gave it a nice clean cut. So now I've got to get some pine. I'm going to get some square pine. And I'm going to make a support for it on this end. Just a nice, they sell it like in 4-foot length. And I might actually have some oak left over from the monitor stand. I'll have to take a look. But my tailpiece here on my drain is gone. So I had to take this all apart, and you can see that clearly it's made out of steel or some bullshit metal, and it's totally corroded. This is I installed this 2 years ago. That's all it lasted. 2 freaking years. What the hell? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the water on. I'm going to set you right here. We're going to turn the water on, and we're going to put it right up to this hose here, which comes out of the mixing valve. And turn both taps on. We'll start with the hot side. Now the reason that they want you to do this is because during oh wow, that's all cloudy as hell. During manufacture, a lot of stuff gets in there, Yeah, that's disgusting, fluxy ass water. It's all. It smells like flux. All right, we'll dump this down the drain. Yucky. All right, we'll do it again. Fill it up. Oop, 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 oop. It's a little better. Still gross. I'll do it one more time. Yeah, that's just the hot side, so we haven't done the cold. Still has a very flux-like odor to it. Alright, now for the cold side. A layer in there. Oops. Now that's black. Take a look at that. Yucky. So the thing is, they don't want you running that water through the brand new nozzle, because the way these are designed is they can easily clog. And all right, don't go there. All right. We'll let it run a little bit with this particular. This has, I think, 3 different patterns. It's got the straight stream, and then this is nice. Let that run for a few minutes. Self-stocking. Got to put the weight on there, and I've got to reroute the dish. I'm going to actually get a hanger for the dishwasher drain hose, hang it up and out of the way. So we'll do that. But this is I thought it had another. That was it. Okay, so it's got this little spray pattern here where you can kind of clean things up. The cross stream and your standard. Okay. I almost just did, yeah. Well, you didn't see what I did a few minutes ago, did you? No, because you're watching this after I recorded it. Well, what happened was this. I had just put the soap nozzle in, the soap dispenser in place, and I started filling in the, I just started pouring the soap from the old dispenser into the new one. And I looked down, and the bottle for the new one was sitting right here. Whoops. That was embarrassing. Shouldn't have told you guys. Now you all know I'm an idiot. But anyway, I got to go to the hardware store, and I got to get me a new drain tail piece, or whatever the hell it's called. And so I can finish the job. But so far, so good. I don't see any leaks. So I feel confident that I can leave the house for a few minutes and not have water bursting all over the place. Of course, that's from when we just did the whole flushy thingy. But this, yeah, there's a weight that goes on this. It goes, I believe, at the bottom. And we'll put that on later. So this is all what we took out today. We've got the, oh my, I didn't even notice that. Oh my God. Folks, I didn't notice that until just now, but this was a, holy shit. This is that polybutylene valve. I was talking about this stuff. Now, from when it was installed, this is all I could see. That's all I could see. I just picked this up now. Look at that. Folks, if you've got an old mobile home from like the early 90s, mid to late 80s, this is what's in your walls. This is the polybutylene plumbing was commonly used in manufactured houses and some new construction. But I didn't notice that this was like one, oh my God, this, probably a year. I'd give it a year. You can already see there's some corrosion in there, so it's already started to leak, and I didn't even know it. That is terrifying. That right there would have let go. We wouldn't have known it until it was too late. This is no joke, guys. Damn. I didn't even notice that until now. That sucker was ready to blow. Now, another pending disaster. I think I mentioned this earlier. Now, this is that weird switch box thing. I can't figure out what the hell it was for, but there's definitely a mechanical flap inside there. It senses water pressure or something. I don't know what it's for. New England Patriots, one of my viewers, suggested it might be for the garbage disposal, but I don't think so. I don't know what it was for, but right here. Okay, see how? All right. So when you thread on a faucet line, it's supposed to be threaded on all the way. Let's see if we can get that in focus. Now this one here, look at how it was like 1, 2.5 threads holding that sucker on. That's it. That was another disaster waiting to happen. So now this shark bite fitting was. This was a casualty, unfortunately. This wasn't leaking or anything. I don't generally use shark bites. I use this because I wanted to quickly plumb in a PEX line to feed my fridge. And I did that all underneath. So the line is, well, that's the one we rerouted. But this one here, like again, there's no issues here, but I wanted to route it differently because I wanted to be able to shut off the exterior spigot in the winter, like I did the other side. But if I shut that off, the way where the valve was located, it was going to shut my fridge off, so it kind of gave me a little conundrum. But my God, these valves. When I had the house inspected, the inspector, who was a friend of mine, he said all of these valves have to be replaced as soon as possible because they are actively. He said they are active leaks. This is what they consider an active leak. If it's encased in corrosion, you know, it's just. It's there, you know, it's ready to go. And what it is the packing nut seal. You know, the packing seal is usually what goes on these globe valves. And they can be rebuilt, but it's not worth it. But this is what we took out. You see all this green corrosion? This is from a leak. A leak that is so slow that it doesn't generate a puddle. You can have a leak that doesn't, it's not obvious until it's too late. And that's what we had here. So that was kind of what got me on this project. And just like, I got to keep putting it off and get it done. But this was leaking because, it's on the other side. It's on the faucet that I took out. I haven't detached it. What I did is I just took my cutter and I cut the pipe. I didn't bother on threading the whole thing. But that was actively leaking for sure. And if we look at this box here, you know, look at that. Yeah. This, I'm just like, my heart skipped a beat when I noticed this was ready to go. And like I said, if you've got a mobile home from the mid 80s to mid 90s, I'd say somewhere in that range. I think it was 93 or 94 when they stopped using this crap. RVs too. I've seen this in RVs as well. It was a good idea at the time. It was a very early attempt at copperless plumbing, and it was a very bad one. They made the stuff, I think they started making it in the 70s, but it really became widespread in the manufactured housing industry for sure. And this is what it does, is it reacts, they say it reacts with something in the water. But whatever the case may be, this is not what you want to see. I mean, there's nothing here. There's nothing here. The threads go up about this far. Why it wasn't leaking, it's a freaking miracle that it wasn't leaking. This isn't from over-tightening it. This is just the plastic shrinking. You see this with nylon, too. Nylon shrinks. Now, this is probably about 25 to 30 years old, I would say. But that would have been a very bad, very, very bad thing to have let go, because that's full flow right there. That's just like cutting a pipe in half. My God. I lucked out there. Jesus. But all's well over here. All's well. Plug this guy in. Plug that in. I gotta run out. I'm gonna get me a new tailpiece, and I'm gonna get some hangers to get this out of the way of the weight. I'm gonna reposition the weight to where it makes sense, and so we're almost there. Almost done. Let's see what happens when you try to unthread this. I do. What's this? Now, this stuff, I mean, look, if you have it in your house, I'm not saying you got to rip it all out today, but definitely start budgeting for it, because if it's lasted this long, you're lucky. Now, this is the only thing in the house made out of polybutylene. The rest of it's copper. This is part of, again, they must have installed the dishwasher in the 80s, early 90s perhaps. Let's take a look inside. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, baby. It didn't disintegrate, but you can tell it was pretty damn close to it. We are lucky. You give it a few more years of age, and pop goes the weasel. Dweezil. You can see the way this valve is made. It's just got a little rubber seal. It's all plastic. The whole thing is plastic. And it's got this little rubber seal that rotates. The whole thing is made of plastic. Like I said, mobile homes, RVs, some new construction in the 80s by new age plumbers on a budget. The stuff was cheap. That's what the appeal was. It was cheap, and it didn't require soldering. You use compression fittings to put it together. So that was the appeal. And yeah, copper was getting expensive, so you know, I broke that. But damn, just because it's new and fancy doesn't mean it's better. All right, off I go. Now that looks fantabulous. Got finished painting the lower shelves, or the bottom of the cabinet. And it's a pretty good quality, durable latex paint that I use for exterior stuff, but you can find this. Anyway, so we got this all hooked up, and there's the counterweight for the faucet. I had to reroute a few things. I didn't bother putting both screws into those clamps because I'm going to be taking that apart anyway. I've got to pull the dishwasher out when I do the floor in about 2 months. So that's all going to be done a little bit neater when it's finished. I'm going to try to come up with an anchoring system for this. I'm not too pleased with that. It's going to, if it gets whacked, it'll, oopsie daisy. If it gets whacked with something, it'll probably cause a gusher, so we don't want that to happen. I cleaned the pipes. Did you notice? They were, just took some Windex. It cleaned them right up. And we got our new tailpiece here. This is all plumbed in. I went with the heavy-duty PVC rather than the metal because the metal ones corrode. Apparently in 2 years. That's all it takes. So, yeah. The fan is helping to accelerate the drying process of the paint. And it's bone dry now. That didn't take long. so I can start putting all my stuff back in. Let's get this out of the way. Hey guys. Hey Hoozles. So, let's take a look inside here. Nice. I mean, it's not perfect, but you know. This is how they used to make cabinets. These were made right on site in the house. So back in the day, this is a little fun time, little history about this. So back in the old days, the cabinets were actually built on site by a cabinet maker, and a little maybe small group of folks would travel from, you know, one house to the next, and they would build the cabinets in place. And that's what these are. And what they would do is, like, for example, depending on who built the cabinets and when, you might find that, like, this laminate top here, normally you would have this glued down to plywood or particle board in modern times. But whoever built this cabinet set, they used oak. That's actually oak. I believe that's oak. Could be pine. But yeah, I actually think it might actually be pine. But anyway, they used tongue and groove boards to make the surface, and then they would put the laminate on top of that, and that was how they did it.